And if all the judges are set, Abby, congratulations on the semifinals. Do you mind, for the first question, if we see a copy of your 1AC?
Yes, you may. And it's okay to pass it back to your partner, too.
Thank you, that was my next question. Now, going to your definition of foreign policy, just real quickly, you said that the definition includes entities outside of the nation, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that the nation could generally be understood as the territory and jurisdiction of the United States?
We could also describe it as legal status of a citizen or a national, but yes, that does include that definition.
Cool, cool. Now, moved on into your second fact, you said that it is opposed by experts, and you cited a report. Do you have the report available for the negative team to review?
Yes, we do have the report available.
Sure. Moving on, did you present a goal, and was that a goal of something along the lines of justice?
We essentially say that military commissions fail the standard of justice because we define it as due punishment in due time.
Sure.
And because military commissions fail that, we argue that our plan accomplishes justice.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on, talking about some of the specifics of your plan, you said you're not specifying any funding under your policy?
We said our funding is through normal budgetary means.
All right, so for example, does your plan require that these prisoners currently held in Guantanamo Bay for military commission purposes will be transferred to the United States?
Those who are held for military commission purposes may be transferred to the United States for being tried in a federal court.
All right, and you are going to, you're not providing any extra resources for the detainment of these individuals?
This will be determined by the state if it is deemed necessary.
Thank you.
We talk about how it's decided through normal budgetary means.
Moving on, you mentioned how federal courts are faster than these military commissions. Are you saying that the speed of which a trial occurs is a standard for whether or not justice is occurred?
So we actually talked about this in our 1AC, and we argue that a faster court in and of itself is not necessarily a reason to reform, but what we see is that federal courts are faster and also ensure due punishment better.
Sure.
And so this
Thank
is
you.
the reason for reform.
All right, would you agree, or rather, did you quote Robert Chesney in the 1AC?
Yes.
And what was the impact of his argument?
The impact of his argument was that military commissions essentially had no advantages over federal court.
All right, interesting. Moving on, you basically talked a lot in your justification about why federal courts seem to be so much more effective than military commissions. Is that a good summary?
Can you restate this?
You believe that federal courts are better than military commissions?
Correct.
All right. Now, would you agree that the vast majority of these cases do go to federal courts currently?
Most cases do go through federal courts.
All right. Is it reasonable to assume that it's the most complicated or the highest level criminals who are held in Guantanamo Bay?
No.
It's not reasonable to make that assumption?
No.
All right, thank you. Now, what is the tangible harm to the current system?
The tangible harm is that we don't have closure for victims, we don't have any precedent for success through military commissions, and we also don't see the terrorists from 9/11 actually declared guilty.
So
They're
are we-
technically innocent until proven guilty.
Certainly. So are you claiming that there are terrorists on the loose who are not receiving the proper punishment?
That is not our contention.
All right. And are you arguing that there's any way harm to the United States national security or some other value to the United States under the current system?
We're simply arguing that the current system is unjust.
Okay, thank you. I'm out of time. That's all my questions.
Thank you.